I'm L. Palermo.
At ako naman po si Erwel Olvina. At kami ang tagapagdaloy ng ating programa para sa araw na ito.
Now we invite everyone to please stand for the national anthem, which will be followed by the invocation.
We realize that without your blessings, we will not be able to succeed with the plans we have for this city. Bestow your grace and divine wisdom to all of us present here, so we can cooperate and enjoy camaraderie and love for the greater good of your being. Bless also those who have left to the without homes. May you grant them peace and happiness as they go about their activities. Bless people around the globe that they may enjoy peace and the goodness of your love. We ask all these through your mighty name. Amen.
Maaari na pong maupo ang lahat. Muli po ay maligayang pagdating sa inyong lahat. Kami po ay nagagalak na makadaupang palad kayo ngayong araw para sa ating pagsasanay sa conservation of paper-based collections through environmental assessment and deacidification. Sa kasalukuyang panahon na kung saan ang kalakhan ng mga impormasyon at datos ay nasa anyong elektroniko na, ang kahalagahan ng pag-iingat ng ating pamanang pasulat ay nananatili. Ang pagsasanay na ito ay tutulungan kayong magkaroon ng sapat na kaalaman at kakayahan para pag-ingatan ang mahalagang pamana ng ating lahi para sa susunod na henerasyon.
We have an exciting and informative day ahead, packed with insights into effective environmental assessment techniques and the crucial process of the acidification. Now, let's make the most of this opportunity to learn, share, and connect. Thank you for joining us, everyone, and let's begin. To start off, we would like to acknowledge the presence of our dear participants from the different government agencies. We have here today representatives from Cultural Center of the Philippines. A round of applause, please.
At syempre, narito rin po ang ating participant mula sa National Archives of the Philippines.
National Historical Commission of the Philippines.
At syempre, ang National Museum of the Philippines.
Department of Environment and Natural Resources.
Department of Foreign Affairs, Office of Cultural Diplomacy.
Department of Information and Communications Technology.
Pag-ibig Fund.
Philippine Health Insurance Corporation.
Local Water Utilities Administration.
National Commission for Culture and the Arts.
At ang huli ay ang Intramuros Administration.
And of course, partner, we also have here participants from the National Library of the Philippines. All right, we would also like to acknowledge the presence of our invited guests from private institutions and NGOs. We have here today the Ayala Foundation Incorporated, Filipinas Heritage Library.
At syempre ngayong umaga, meron din tayong kinatawan mula sa Lopez Museum and Library.
And we're also very grateful for them to having us today. Sanfo. Ayan, palakpakan po natin. And partner, we also have invited guests from the academe. First off, we have the University of the Philippines, Diliman.
Ayan. At may kinatawan din tayo mula sa pinakamatandang universidad di Pilipinas, Universidad ng Santo Tomas.
And of course, thank you, Asosasyon ng Aklatan at Sinupanan Diliman Incorporated or ASDI. And lastly, we have our media guests from the People's TV.
At syempre, hindi mawawala ang Philippine Information Agency or PIA.
Again, a round of applause for all of you. Again, we're very grateful for having you here with us today.
Ayun po. At sa yugtupong ito ay akin na pong tatawagin ang butihing tagapamahala ng Pambansang Aklatan, Ginoong Cesar Gilbert Q. Adriano, para sa kanyang pambungad na pananalita.
Good morning. Ang gagaling ng mga MCs natin. Isang mapayapang araw sa ating lahat. To the arts and culture agencies, academic and science institutions, to Mr. Raj Gokal, our speakers, Raj Gokal and Miss Consuelo Martínez Rendo, welcome to the National Library. Everyone present here today, maligayang pagdating po sa inyong pambansang aklatan ng Pilipinas. In line with the National Library's upcoming 138th Foundation Anniversary, sa Martes na po ito, we are pleased to celebrate with you through this informative training in conservation of paper-based collection through environmental assessment and deacidification. This event follows our mission to conserve and preserve Filipiniana materials. The National Library, as the country's repository of printed and recorded heritage, holds vast paper-based Filipiniana collection which need proper, innovative, and research-based care. And we hope that through this conservation training with our stakeholders, we can share knowledge, develop the capabilities, and enhance work standards. For the information of everyone, our speakers were here already since Sunday. Nauna na po ang Filipiniana namin ng 2 araw. Sa kanilang talaga is workshop. Ito ngayon, isi-share lang ng speakers natin kung paano nila ma-share sa inyo sa isang araw. Kasi, syempre, tinake na natin yung opportunity na nandito sila and to share with our stakeholders, lalong-lalo na yung mga kasama natin sa cultural agencies na preservation and conservation din ang kanilang mga trabaho. This is just a dream before for us in the National Library. It's 7 years in the making bago kami nakabili nitong mga high-tech na mga preservation and conservation equipment. Hindi yan mura. Makabili ka na ng house and lot sa mga presyong ito. Pero kailangan namin bilhin dahil yan yung mandato ng National Library. For the past 7 years, inayos na natin yung ating building. Hindi man siya yung pinakamagandang National Library sa buong mundo, pero nagmukha na siyang National Library ngayon. Last year, we opened our permanent gallery. Our very important collections were just there inside our vaults. Nilalabas lang namin ang Rizaliana pag birthday ni Jose Rizal. Ngayon, you can visit our collection Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. And you can check it now pag break ninyo. Bukas po ang ating gallery. And this month, we will be launching our modern children's library. Tapos na rin po. Pag pumunta kayo dun sa gallery natin mamaya, madadaanan nyo. Pero bawal pa po pumasok kasi nasa finishing touches pa tayo. And also this year, The most important thing na nagawa natin ay ang National Library ay may 8 stock rooms. May rare, iba-iba. 8 po yun. Hindi po nakatikim ng lamig yung koleksyon natin sa haba ng panahon. Pero ngayon, all 8 stock rooms are equipped with climate control. Lahat yun, tapos na ngayong taon. And finally, just to share with you, next year, and hopefully, the Senate and the House will give us budget. Alam natin ito lahat na minsan lang tayo napapansin, naka-live tayo, baka marinig yung request natin. We are planning, the space is ready, but we are planning to develop a permanent laboratory. So, yung mga equipment na ito, nakalagay muna sa Filipiniana, pero eventually ililipat natin to sa permanent gallery na kumpleto lahat ng kailangan for the preservation and conservation. So, yun yung direction na tinatahak ng National Library ngayon. So, gusto ko lang malaman yun na ito. Kasi ang alam ko si National Archives bago yung building. So, syempre mas maganda yung kanila. Amin luma yung building pero inaayos natin yung mga spaces and mga ina-upgrade natin yung mga equipment. So of course, this wouldn't have been possible without the agency's Filipiniana division. Andyan sila nag-prepare ng lahat nito para ma-push through natin tong activity na ito. So more than learning, this is also an occasion to foster collaboration among fellow cultural, professional, and public agencies as we work toward preservation and of our shared written heritage as Filipino. Thank you, and again, welcome to the National Library of the Philippines.
Thank you very much for the wonderful message, Sir Jet. Again, a round of applause for our dear director. To present the activity and objectives of this training, may I call on Ms. Marisol M. Diaz, Librarian 4 of the Filipiniana Division. A round of applause, please.
Thank you, Elle. This training seeks to capacitate the NLP staff, representatives from other cultural agencies and relevant stakeholders on conservation techniques and best practices to be able to repair and ultimately preserve our collections. Specifically, the training seeks to understand environmental factors that contribute to the deterioration of materials, to equip the participants with knowledge, skills, and awareness needed to protect and manage the collections, provides practical skills in protecting our collections, foster a sense of responsibility towards the immediate preservation of our collections, and ultimately and most importantly, to foster collaboration among each other and to the professional conservators like Consuelo. So foster collaboration. So sana po iniwan nyo yung contact details nyo sa aming registration. So let's start from this program na mag-collaborate for the preservation of. Good morning.
Maraming salamat, Binibining Maricel. And to give us the overview of the Filipiniana collection, may I call on Mr. Edgardo B. Quiros, Director 3, Assistant Director of the National Library of the Philippines. A round of applause, please.
Magandang umaga. Welcome sa National Library at sa mga nanonood sa atin sa Facebook. Welcome sa ating programa ngayon. Maliit lang na gathering ito, maiksi lang. But we're hoping to share that as a Philippine government agency, hindi mahirap mangarap, pero dapat ang pangarap dagdagan natin ng effort. Ito yung sinasabi ni Director kanina na inabot kami ng 7 taon. Grabe talaga yung effort na nilagay namin bago nakarating sa ganitong level. So, let me start by yung images muna. Let me start by showing some images why we need to have this equipment. Um, it's not just the collection as we have it, but what is the state? Most in this is the gallery that director just talking about. We revised the whole activity. We started with a gallery where we can showcase what is our nation's heritage materials. So by coming up with a gallery, we want others, the Filipinos here and abroad, the young ones, to appreciate what is our national heritage. Not just in the vault, but in a properly um, um, protected and secured environment. So if you can go to our website, there is a virtual tour, so you can actually uh, see what's inside the gallery. So this is a permanent gallery, or you can visit us and see for yourself. What you don't see are the things that we added to the gallery. First, well, when we talk about climate control, it's not just the air conditioning unit. We have to sanitize the environment, the air. We have to monitor the environment. We have to secure the environment. So for that, what you don't see in when you visit the gallery is one, we are using activated carbon to clean the air. We are using ionizer. We ionize the air for the whole facility to kill bacteria and prevent the growth of molds. We also monitor the growth of bacteria using an AP monitor. It's a food grade instrument that we use to swab the different parts of the gallery, from the floor to the ventilation ducts of the air conditioning unit to the materials that we display. So we can be more preventive in our actions. And of course, we have a security with security cameras, our door lock mechanism. We are actually using a face recognition in our security system. It's not, we don't write it in our paper because we want, including our data center where the system is located, we don't want to showcase this because it's supposed to be hidden somewhere. Our gallery is also protected by a gas-based fire suppression system. Not the high-tech version because we cannot afford it, but it's a system that is contrary, different from the argon-based that we have previously. NM has an argon-based fire suppression. But the difference with this kind of fire suppression system is you can release the gas even if there are persons inside the gallery. It's not toxic to humans. It's not even, it doesn't cause problem with the electronics. So when the test that we did with this gas-based fire suppression system was the vice president of the company who won the award, the contract. He put his cell phone inside the liquid and called the cell phone right after getting the cell phone from the liquid. So that's how safe are the chemical used in this gas-based fire suppression. And we have already, aside from the one mentioned by Director Jet, aside from the climate control in our storage room, we have completed the installation of the same gas-based fire suppression. Okay, so this is how we intend to take good care of our collection, not just a simple, traditional paper conservation and preservation methodologies. Okay, so after this, I'll show you some example why it is important for us to race against time. Time is our biggest problem with paper documents. These are some of our Filipiniana collections, part of our collection that has shown physically signs of degradation. Okay, so This Manila Bulletin, if you can see closely, this is 1920s Manila Bulletin. You see the typical damage in the middle because we normally fold the newspaper. It's there, it's visible. It's part of the Alsona collection. Encarnacion Alsona is our national scientist who is also a historian. So next, this is the Graph Journal. It's actually an American newspaper, part of the Philippine insurgent records confiscated by the Americans from Filipinos during the Philippine-American War. So it's actually published abroad, used in the Philippines, confiscated from the Filipinos, brought back to the US, and returned to the Philippines. And this is what we have now. Okay, so next. Il Faro Administrativo is also a publication, is also part of the Philippine Insurgent Records. And if you look closely, the signs of degradation can be seen on the left side. But the paper quality is much better than the others. But degradation has already set if you look on the left side. Okay, so next. Okay, this one is actually Smithsonian publication, but it talks about Philippine species. The paper is very good, but look at the binding in the side on the middle. Damage is showing in this part. Okay, so next. Okay. This actually a document, part of the document submitted to the United Nations when we filed our claim for North Borneo or Sabah. This is written in Jawi manuscript, Jawi script. The damage is repaired with some sort of tape. So you can see the tape. They have the stamp. Yeah. So next. This Manila Bulletin. It's already an old one. Damage is very visible. Normally, the newspapers has a thin, very newsprint kind of paper, but you can see the damage from on the side, around, and the whole page is already discolored, dark, turning dark brown. Okay, so next. Okay, this actually clipping, newspaper clipping. It's Santa Cruz Evening News. This publication in California is part of the newspaper clipping of Maud Parker. Maud Parker is the wife of Luther Parker, who served as a teacher during the early American period. So he is part of the early American government. So when they went back to California after retiring the Philippines, husband and wife continued on working for the Philippine cause, especially the Philippine independence. Okay, this one is Woman's Home Companion. This is just 1972, the magazine. But if you look closer on the in the middle, you already see the stage of degradation in the paper. Again, normally these kinds of publications has lower quality, they use lower quality paper. Okay, so next. This an album returned to the Philippines by Luther Parker. The pictures were taken by Maud Parker, the wife. She's also a photographer. These are places in the Philippines. And if you take a look at the picture, they are from photographic paper. But the degradation has started with the mounting page, you see in the side, the brown the brown color started to, and some actually has separated from the binding. So the pictures are okay, but the album itself has started to degrade. Ayan. So this Fajardo House in Bacolor, Cavite. Oldest house in Bacolor. Okay. So sa next, this is a map of the city of Manila. The date is 1918. You can easily see the repair done using tape. Normally, these are sold to tourists. They are folded. That's why they have the damage along the lines. Okay. This is a journal publication, a medical journal. Okay, you see the date, it's just 1982, but the visible signs of degradation is already very visible on the side of the page. Okay, so next. This is the American Chamber of Commerce Journal. We have set here. Yeah. In the sides of the page, you can see the brown, the brown, darker brown color. This is dated 1924. Okay. Next. This is our own publication, the Philippine National Bibliography Historical Review. It's produced by Spanish and English. The browning of the paper is much extensive in the document. It's still intact, but a very serious degradation has already occurred. In our next image, Excelsior is another publication. Look at the date, it's 1929. Okay, you can see the various discoloration. Okay, so next. Okay, this one has the same problem. Okay, next. Okay, sum up. Parts have already separated. You can see when we did the digitization of this document, they actually are in plastic carriers. We just use the software to cancel out the plastic so that it doesn't appear in the digital image. You see the problem here, and if you go downwards on the right, and the rest of the document, you can see on the edges the problem. Okay, so next. Again, this is part of a map. You can see the pages already separating. La Isla Luzon y adjacent islands. So this Atlas de Geográfico. Next would be the Tribune publication, a newspaper, a broadsheet publication. But this is a different Tribune than the Tribune we have today. This is the American Tribune published in Manila. So this is not the same as the Tribune published today. This is a different one. It's 1900. Okay, so you see the damage in the middle. This, if you zoom on the date, this 1903. This is part of the Philippine Insurgent Records. So again, balikbayan na siya. Nagpunta na ng US, tumira doon na ilang taon, bumalik siya. So, so subject na siya sa maraming handling. Pero buo pa rin siya except the damages. Okay, sa next. La Luz is another Philippine publication. Again, part of the Philippine Insurgent Records. You can see the repair, the tape, and the markings of the PIR, the office of the Adjutant General, and the number, the Bates number of the document, the publication. Okay. Next. This is actually part of the Manuel Quezon collection donated to the National Library by the ears of the President. You see the signs of the paper clips, the metal paper clips. You can see the repair done. It's a kind of paper tape in the middle and the damage due to folding. Okay, again, the discoloration due to degradation of the paper. Next. Okay, again, part of the Manuel Quezon. Normally, it is a formal letter, normally folded into three. So you see the signs and the damage on the edges on the lower right. Yeah. Next. So the discoloration is not actually, not just the degradation, but the blotting of the ink from the other side. So tumagos na yung ink, nag-blot na siya. Yan. Okay, sa next. Okay, this is actually a communication by Luis Montilla, the former director of the National Library, dated 1953. So you see the damage by due to folding and discoloration and rust coming from the metal paper clip on the other side. Okay, next. This part of this music sheet. That's the title. This part of this is Banya's collection. Okay, so the paper you use in this music sheet is the one they buy with ready lines and they just fill in the notes. So it's a quality kind of paper, still intact, but the discoloration will tell you the state of the degradation of the paper. Okay, next. This is a clipping. Okay, so it's mounted, part of the Carlos Garcia collection, recently donated to the National Library. So this is Philippine Press Clipping Bureau. Okay. So Manila Times, ano yung date? Ano mo yung date? It's November 7, 1953. Okay. Sa next na image natin. This is Liwayway. It's a comics portion of the magazine by Mars Ravelo. So this is the Darna at ang babaeng tuod. So it's in Tagalog. Okay, so again, the paper that they use in these kinds of publication are not are the low quality paper, and the signs of degradation is very much advanced compared to the other ones. Okay, marami tayo niyan, yung liwayway. Marami tayong copies nung ano. And then this one is a book, the cover page. So normally, if you talk about books, the first few pages are the ones showing this kind of degradation, darker brown, more tears because of usage, compared to the inner pages. So this is one of them, Gregorio Zaide book. Okay, so next, this 1931. So next image, it's very dark because it's dark brown. Again, we did not perform digital alteration with this document so that we can see the actual condition. Okay, so sa next page, darker, you can see the they use a metal staple wire to bind the book. And if you see the stump on the right, this is actually part of the pilferage case in the 1990s. So that is the mark used by the National Library as instructed by the National Bureau of Investigation, part ng process of retrieval of documents and putting a mark to be used in court. Okay, so yan yun. Next. So this is another page of another book. Again, part of the pilferage case in the 1990s. This is a book. So you can see the markings. And the discoloration is very evident. And at the same time, this is also part of the Philippine Insurgent Records. You see that the stamp, that is a Philippine Insurgent Record. So it's a book. And these are not part of the selected documents set. Not part of the guide prepared by Taylor. Okay, so next. Okay, so this one, Carlos P. Garcia, typewritten with signature and some annotation, airmailed. Okay, so you see the discoloration at the same time the changes in the surface of the paper, bako-bako na siya. Okay. Next. Publication of the Civil Service Commission. The date is 1969. It's not that very old, but the discoloration is there. Okay. The Civil Service Reporters. Next. This is Philippine Journal of Science, our oldest scientific publication in the Philippines. The date is 1906. The paper is a good quality paper, but discoloration has already started. Okay, next. Gaceta de Filipinas. Again, this is part of the Philippine Insurgent Records. You see the damage on the side, the edges, but discoloration is not as brown as the others. Older than the others, but better in terms of the condition. Okay. Next, you can see the dry seal. It's very visible because we use the three-dimensional scanner to capture the image. So we have that kind of process. And it's the text is very clear. You can even see the texture of the paper, the grains. Okay. However, the discoloration has started to appear, but small batches. You can see the brown dot. Okay. So next. That's 1957. Okay, so wala na, no? Okay, so overall, we are talking about documents more than centuries old, thousands of pages of documents, and we are racing against time. We have this much Filipiniana stuff, but they cannot race against time in terms of paper degradation. So we have to think of other ways, not just prioritization. We can always prioritize, but if the degradation process is faster than what we are capable using traditional methodologies in paper conservation, then we lost. We can lose the whole process. It's more expensive to repair than to prevent the damage. So to race against time, we have this equipment. You can actually buy another version of this, the hand spray. How much can you finish in one day? How efficient you are? You need manpower. Yeah, you can easily hire additional staff, but it's not fast and as efficient as this one. Okay, so let me put a context to what we're doing at the National Library. Overall, it's not just the equipment. Okay. We started with rethinking who we are. In fact, for a very long time, National Library was thought to be founded during the American period. We found documents that we are actually founded in August 12, 1887. We found evidence, even the books as described in the catalog of the Museo Biblioteca, published in 1892. We found a copy in Spain. We found these same titles still with us in our collection. So we have proven and undergone the process of recognition with the National Historical Commission, and we have established that we are founded 1887. By now, things have changed. National Museum separated from National Library. And by this time, looking at the way things have changed, we were able to establish that we are a repository as our primary mandate. No longer a simple library, no longer a public library. The local government code removed the public library function of the National Library and devolved to the local government units. Okay, so from here, it's a lot easier to take a look at our priorities. So next slide. When we talk about the Filipiniana collection, we are using the Retana definition as compared to other definition like Medina. So here, we have three basic elements, those that were printed in the Philippines. No matter who is the author, regardless of topic, regardless of language, as long as they're printed in the Philippines, they are Filipiniana. Second, those publications about the Philippines or Filipinos. And third, of course, if the authorship is a Filipino, not just by citizenship, but by affinity. So we use this one to define what we call Filipiniana at the National Library of the Philippines. Okay. So from here, these are the collection that we have now, some notable collections. Of course, we have the Filipiniana collections gathered from all over the country, returned to us, donated to us, purchased by the government from different institutions here and abroad. We have this thesis and dissertation because we are a repository. We have here National Artist Collection. Pabalik ako dun sa slide. We have the Atang de la Rama. We have Amado Hernandez, the husband of Atang de la Rama. We have Leonor Orosa, Gokingko. We have the Felipe Padilla de Leon music sheets. And there are other collections like Balmaceda, Lupik K. Santos, Luther and Maud Parker, Peter Joski, postcards from the Philippines in an album. We have the Encarnacion Alsona collection, a historian and a scientist. We have the Camilo Osias. The Oatly Bayer are in microfiche, bought from Australia because they have the originals. We have the historical data of the Philippines, 1953, the third one. Because the first one happened prior to 1953. And the second one, and then 1953 is actually the third historical data, and there is another fourth. The one that we have complete, not complete, but this collection that we have is the historical data of 1953. The government bought, before the war, the library collection of the Tabacalera, the company that make tobacco in the Philippines. We have pictures, maps, we have music sheets, rare books, rare cereals, among the other collection. Okay. We are the depository, so we have the cereals. These are newspapers, magazine, journals, even fiesta souvenir programs. Government publications, because we are the repository. We have copyright deposits. And as an institution that is more than 100 years old, we have some artworks. Some are part of the Quezon collection, the chair. We have the chair, table and chair of Camilo Osias. We have the table and chair of Manuel Quezon displayed at the gallery. We have the salakot, the hat of Balmaceda. We have other objects like sculptures. We actually have a Juan Luna painting of the Philippine flag. We have a Marsolo. We have a Buseta of the 600 years of the Spanish colonization of the Philippines. The Buseta is actually in a plywood as compared to the one at the City Hall of Manila deposited in the National Museum. So we have, I think, 3 pieces of the Buseta in plywood. Okay. But of course, the one that we're talking today are the paper collections. Majority of our collections are in paper. Okay. And more than 100 years, documents, some of them came from overseas. Materials, some materials are also published overseas. Paper and pigments can be sourced from abroad or local. So we have a local paper making industry before, even before the war. Okay. Now, what we have seen is one, brittleness, weakness of the paper. Discoloration is easier to assess. Tears, holes, sometimes adhesion. Now, like for example, the Quezon collection, before they were donated to the National Library, they were subjected to a flooding because they are located in the basement of Malacanang. So Malacanang is basically along the Pasig River. So in its history, the papers of Manuel Quezon submerge in paper. So you see some bacterial or growth of molds in some of the pages. Okay. Now, we have done the traditional work with paper. We do fumigation, we do repair, we do rehousing, change the boxes, the folders to acid-free papers, replace them if they are damaged. Surface cleaning, we do that. We do infilling. But okay, these are based on our observations. Damage occurred before the documents were given to National Library. Prior to that, we already established that the storage environment is not fully controlled. In fact, uh, the concept of putting an air conditioning unit is actually cause more damage if you do not manage the humidity. So now it's not just about the air conditioning unit. We added dehumidifiers to absorb the moisture released from the units. You can buy, actually you can buy air conditioning units with built-in dehumidifiers, but it's very expensive. So we opted a separate equipment. We have a separate ACs and a separate dehumidifiers. Okay, so that's our approach and constant monitoring of the storage facilities. We actually changed some windows to remove the possibility of UV light damage. Our facade used to be a clear glass. Now we use a glass that is UV filter and it filters the UV light from outside. So if we are to exhibit our collection in the lobby, which we do from time to time, the glass actually is enough to filter the UV light. And of course, we replace the lights in the storage facilities with light that is not emitting UV light. Okay, so those are part of our efforts to take good care of our collection. Now, in the culture and arts, the agencies under our group, we normally don't get a lot of budget. It's very hard. It's a historical phenomenon. So it's not about uh, what we need. It's more about what they will give us. So it starts with priorities. Can we be more preventive, which is less expensive, or reactive? Wait for the damage. Can we take a look at cost effectiveness? Can we take a look at our own human resource? You can send people for training, make them skilled experts, but they don't stay with your agency for long. Some of them will retire, some of them will transfer. So the continuity, basically, what we talk, me and Director Jet are talking about the human resource component. We have to take a closer look at the human resource. We believe that the human resource component is the most important resource of any institution. So we should focus on the human resource. Next. So here we put our realization into our ISO quality policy to, to make everyone know that we are a repository. Our primary mandate is as a repository. So it's there. And of course, since 8 years ago, we started this. We don't have a much bigger budget, but we started with what we have. So what we can do, we continued on with the earthquake retrofitting. Aanin mo ang well-preserved na libro kung yung building mo ay magko-collapse pag may earthquake. So we started with that. Additionally, we had the building space recovery. And this is actually the hardest part because we had to send National Archives away from our building. And other offices, the Library Association offices. We have to limit the building space. And yet, by now, we're still talking about malapit na kami mapuno, the lack of space. So these are real situations and what we need to do. Of course, the one I discussed a while ago is a gas-based fire suppression that is safe for us, but at the same time, it's not just smoke detection, but a heat detection system. And the environment, we talk about humidity and temperature, UV light, and air quality. So sa next, mura lang naman yung mga monitoring device. So we have already acquired some devices to monitor this. So we take a look at dust, of course. Madali lang kung wala kayong device, white tissue paper, punas doon sa surface. Makikita mo kung may alikabok. So you don't have to have a device. You just have a white tissue paper to monitor the dust in the storage facilities. Formaldehyde is normal with trees. So some of our papers can have formaldehyde in themselves. So it's good to monitor the formaldehyde, not just the air around the collection. Carbon monoxide, it can show you information about the presence of bacteria, also carbon dioxide, and the total volatile organic compounds. We are in Metro Manila, we are covered with smog, hydrocarbon emissions from our vehicles. So you should monitor that part of air quality, the TVOC. And there are already tools in the market that we can buy to be used for that. Now, what we already have done, we added in our activities a book elevator para hindi na binubuhat ang libro, lalo yung mga fragile and rare. Huwag mo nang buhatin, isakay mo na sa elevator. Book elevator. And then we also have cargo elevator para pwede mo na isakay yung buong shelf mo basta kasya dun sa elevator. Huwag nang itali, ilagay na lang sa tray. Kasi yung tali mismo, if you put a twine around the collection, makakasira yun. And of course, we are in the Philippines, termite control is a must. Fumigation, may ipis, may ants, marami yan. And ito yung medyo mahal, yung ionizer, yung isang device, may git 100,000 before pandemic. Ewan ko ngayon kung magkano. And the ozone air purification, na-discover namin to nung pandemic. Ito pala ay ginagamit ng hospitals, yung operating room, para ma-disinfect yung buong kwarto. At may supplier sa Philippines because it's a regular supply equipment for our hospitals. So we were able to get the ozone device as an alternative mechanism to affect our rooms. Not just the storage, including our reading rooms. Okay? Kasi masama din ang UV light pag ang UV mo ang pang-disinfect mo sa libro. Yun nga yung iniiwasan natin eh. Nung pandemic, nagbebenta yung iba, UV light daw para mag-disinfect ng libro. Hindi pwede yun. Okay. So we are taking a look at, this is about time. Anything that we do is based on time. It's a question of time. So we have to rethink our approach. And preventive conservation program is a more rational approach because urgency is now a concern. In our institution, the National Library, we have to take a look at our human resource. Konti lang naman ang tao ng National Library. Mas marami pa yata ang janitor. We have to consider the volume of the collection. Gaano kadami yan? And rate of paper degradation. Wala kaming exact number sa rate of degradation kung ilang percent. Pero nakikita mo naman na dark brown na siya, fragile na yung collection. Mag-a-assess ka pa ba habang nagdi-degrade na yung collection mo? So what can be done? Pwede namang sabay. Yun yun. And then, consider nyo yung environment ng Philippines. We are visited by an average of 20 typhoons a year. Our rainfall is 81.1 inch in Manila. So I got this data for Manila alone. 81.1 inch of rainfall. And it's increasing yearly because of climate change. We have an average temperature of 27 degrees Celsius in Manila, where we are located, this building. And a relative humidity, again, these are data from our Weather Bureau, the PAGASA, from 64 to 82%. Now, the combination of relative humidity and temperature can cause the condensation. And that's the problem with paper collection. Pansinin nyo yung pag sumakay kayo sa sasakyan, aircon, depende sa oras sa maghapon, lalo sa tanghali, tas humid ang air, paglabas mo, nagpo-fog yung glasses. Yon. Condensation yon. It's a combination of the temperature and humidity. So we don't just measure temperature and humidity. It's the combination of the two. And we have to determine what is the condensation at particular point dahil yung condensation, yun ang may direct effect sa paper decomposition o degradation. Hindi lang siya, i-measure mo temperature, okay na yan. Sabi ng libro, dapat ito yung temperature. Kulang yon. Dapat you have to compute. May formula ang condensation na kailangan mo talaga ang relative humidity at saka yung temperature. Yan yon. So ito yung environment natin. Sa umaga, ang hangin natin, pag walang bagyo, walang monsoon, galing sa Laguna Lake, fresh water, ang vapor. Sa hapon, by 2:30, 3 o'clock, galing naman sa dagat, Manila Bay. Ano naman ang vapor niya? May kasamang alat. Salty siya. Okay, sa next screen. Looking at the whole situation, ano ba yung dapat unahin? Hindi lang basta deacidification. Kailangan mass deacidification machine. Pwede naman, you can start, konti collection nyo, you don't have to buy this equipment, pero meron siyang version na spray lang. Pwede na. Kaya lang sa amin, ano kaya ang ma-sprayhan na isang tao sa maghapon? Yung nakagamit na kayo ng spray? Mas malapot ang tubig nito, so mas nakakapagod. So kailangan equipment na kung marami ang collection. And maliban doon, after mo siya sprayhan, ano gagawin mo? Encapsulation na para mabawasan na yung damage. So partners sila. Now, pwede naman dati, ang ginagamit natin, yung double-sided tape. Time in motion kayo, sino mas mabilis? Ito na ultrasonic sound ang ginagamit niya para magdikit yung plastic, yung mylar. O balik ka dun sa ano, subukan nyo mag-time in motion. Definitely mas mabilis ito. At the same time, less ang gastos mo kasi kuryente na lang ang dagdag. Magkano yung double-sided tape? Dito mahirap, mas mabilis, less ang error. Sa double-sided tape, naihipan mo lang yung tape, nadikit na sa iba. Tapon mo na yon, diba? So, all in all, itong dalawang to, yung naging priority namin. Although, bumili na rin kami ng leaf casting machine. Nakabalot pa kasi unahin namin to. Pero nandiyan na, this year nakuha din namin yung budget. Mas mura yon kaysa to. Okay. Sa next. So, all in all, yung potentials na nakikita namin, based sa situation ng National Library, na ganito lang ang manpower, etc., the cost of prevention is much lower than the cost of repair. Kasi nakita na namin yung traditional method eh. So it's easier for us to make some estimates. Repair cannot bring back lost information. Paano pag yung nasira ay tinamaan mismo yung mga information, letra, sentences, yung drawing, nabutas, yung mukha, nabutas, wala na. You can repair the paper by backfilling, pero papel na lang yun, blanco na. Diba? And for this, based sa ginawa namin na workshop, less ang training kaysa dun sa traditional. Mahirap magturo sa ibang tao. Pero ito, saglit lang, nagawa namin. Sumali din ako actually, nakisali na. Higher productivity, and of course, low ang wastage na supplies. Kasi kinakalculate na niya yung ini-spray niya. Kung mano-mano, yung hand spray ang gagamitin mo, mas magastos sa chemical. No worries about the chemical dahil non-reactive yung chemical eh. Magiging alikabok lang siya. So you don't have to worry about oversaturation. Walang problema doon. Okay, so next. Mas maiksi ang workflow. So nakita na namin yon. Of course, longer cycle of monitoring period. Kasi once ma-stop mo yung acidification process, baka retired ka na bago siya i-test ulit. Mas mahaba ang monitoring period mo. Less worry, longer. Therefore, we can pasok na pasok sa mandate natin na para sa future generation. Ayan. Sa next. Now, yung details, makikita nyo naman later when we do when we use the equipment, and Mr. Raj will talk about some details based sa experience na nila sa ibang countries dito sa iba't ibang countries na gumamit na nito. So nandun yung numbers kay Mr. Raj mamaya. Okay. Last na ba yun? Okay. So yan yung kabuuan. Hindi lang yung papel ang titignan natin, dapat buo, pati yung institution, human resource, situation nyo, saan kayo located, yung storage building nyo, saan located. Hindi lang basta aircon ang pinag-uusapan, may ibang bagay pa. So overall siya. And then suma total, doon kami nakarating dito. Ito yung kailangan namin. Para, again, nakita namin na ang number one na challenge sa amin is time. Time is the basic problem. You cannot stop, yung process of degradation is happening whether you like it or not. But if you put a stop to the process of decomposition, then you have a much better chance of making your collection, the Filipiniana collection, available to our future generation. So I hope that with this, we can work towards that kind of vision that our younger generation can still have something to look at. Yeah. So dahil sa gallery, na-donate sa amin yung Velarde map na ginamit sa dispute natin. Mamaya sumunod si Justice Carpio, nag-donate na isa pang mas malaking map na one of the maps used in the Treaty of Paris na diniscard during the approval sa US Senate, dahil kulang pala yung mapa. Nandun sa libro ni Justice Carpio yung details about that. So, we are hoping that with this, we can bring back yung tiwala ng tao sa institutions natin. So, it's us showing na our job, our mandate can be done with whatever challenges that we are facing. So, this is what we want to start. And of course, it also important that we share our experience. Baka makita nyo, then later on, you can also share to us. Maybe we can learn from your experience at mas mapaganda natin yung ating trabaho sa ating paper conservation and preservation for whatever institution you belong. So thank you and good morning. Hopefully you will be as excited as I am in looking at these options that we have today. And by the way, dumaan kami sa procurement process. So, hindi siya imposible. Mr. Raj here has been working with us for the past 3 years. Ngayon lang nakarating to kasi pinag-aralan din niya paano niya ma-deliver to us direct purchase using the procurement process. Nakilala lang siya kasi supplier siya ng UST. Doon siya muna. Pero private yun eh. So it took a while before we were able to work with the procurement law. And ito na yon. So, ibig sabihin, sa mga government agencies natin, gayahin nyo na lang. We are very open to sharing with you what we have done to acquire the equipment using our normal process mandated to us by our procurement law. So, thank you and good morning.
Ayan. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Queiroz, sa inyong overview na binigay para sa ating koleksyon sa Filipiniana Division. At para magbahagi po ng mga tungkol pa sa magaganap na pagsasanay ngayon, at sasabihin ko na lang po sa wikang Ingles, may we call on Mr. Raj Gokel, Director of Sales and Business Development, Asia Preservation Technologies LP. May we give him a round of applause.
Allora, thank you. On behalf of the, I'd actually like to start off thanking Director Caesar for his tireless effort in fulfilling the mandate of the National Library of the Philippines. That being, the National Library of the Philippines is a repository of printed and recorded cultural heritage of the country and other intellectual and literary information sources. So, like Ed said, today is a major step towards fulfilling his mandate, 7 years in the making. And we are proud to partner with the library for 3 of them, like Ed said. So today is the beginning of the library's preventive intervention program, which that will stave off the enormous expense and burden, right, of restoration and possibly the loss of recorded cultural heritage, most probably before it can be digitized. The library has recognized and embraced the urgency of now. So in face of the ongoing challenges of budget, which you all resonate with, and acquiring training and equipment that is not available here directly, the National Library set a precedent in acquiring this equipment with a foreign entity directly, well within the stipulations of the procurement laws of the Philippines. This was done with diligence and partnership. So today's workshop is to share the abilities that the library has beginning to acquire. Now, as Assistant Director, Kiros has mentioned, the major factor that imperils the vast collection of the library, as well as other institutions here, is the effects of acidity on the paper collections. And that's due to the corrosive nature of the inks and the inherent structure of modern day paper, which is naturally acidic. And over time, the environment and cross-contamination due to storage has exacerbated this situation. Current methods to address this critical issue is prohibitive. It's laborious and time-consuming and ultimately inherently flawed, which current practices are actually entirely focused on the most fragile, the critical portions of the collection. This common methodology employed due to the constraints of budget, training required, is actually a very perilous situation that you have encountered. While you are addressing the critical nature of your collections, the collection itself does not lie dormant. The rest of the collection continues to be eaten away by the acidity and the environment. Eventually, unaddressed, the enormity of restoration will be prohibitively expensive and very, very labor intensive, and will be beyond most budgets. Today, we will be displaying one of the acquisitions, a device that rapidly neutralizes acidity whilst depositing a buffer to help ward off future cross-contamination post-treatment. This device has been used in institutions such as the legendary Second Historical Archives of China, home to the revolutionary period of the early 1900s, records of the nationalist government pre-1949, the Japanese imperial records, and the occupation of China, where we partnered with them many years ago to address a collection that was in a period of 75 days. In the days to come, the library will commence treating the Philippines insurgency records, which are approximately 380,000 or more sheets, to treat, contain, and store, to revisit possibly in a 200 or 300 years later. In the meantime, preparing it for digitization. Without methods such as this to be employed in the Philippines, the chances are that a lot of your collections will not be recorded and given the access of analyzation by our future, which is the artificial intelligence. So I'd like to thank, on behalf of Preservation Technologies, the leadership of the library, Ed, Marcel, right, to make available their resources. We value this partnership, and we look forward to collaborating with them into developing their world-class preservation center and their mission to ensure that cultural records are safe for the generations to come. So my colleague, Consuelo Martínez, will begin to explain and draw you into the world of preservation on the mass level on how we can address and resolve the preservation of historical narratives that make up these rare books. So we are open today. I'd like to take the opportunity as we engage in you in this, that this is also an example of what is required to address the enormity of such a task that all of you are engaged in, and that preservation technologies, and I thank my CEO for that, is very open to engage and share as much as we can to assist you in a very important and noble endeavor for your country. Thank you very much, and I'll now bring in Consuelo, and I hope you enjoy the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Raj. Ayan. Again, a round of applause for all of the people who shared their different thoughts on our training this morning. No? Ayan. Partner, let's move towards the most exciting part of our program. I heard yung speaker natin is from Spain. So which means Española, right? Very, very Latina. That's why ganyan yung OOTD natin today. Very ano lang, a very Reina Hispano-Americana ang peg. Ayan. So, by the way po, no, my friend right here, ang aking partner, is a student in the Instituto, right? Cervantes. He's a Spanish student po. I mean, ay Spanish language student. Ayan. Baka gusto mo mag-share ng isang Spanish phrase dyan, Erwel?
Ano bang share ko? Ayan. Ayan. So, batiin muna natin sila ng wikang Espanyol. Hola, buenos días a todos. ¿Qué tal? Ayan.
And check. Ayan, pass agad. Ganon. Ayan.
So, ayun po. Kinukumusta ko lang po kayo. Ayun lang po yung ibig sabihin nun. ¿Qué tal means how are you? What's up with you? Yun lang po.
Nice. So, all right. Without further ado, let us now meet our resource speaker.
Ayan po. Magbibigang Tagalog na ulit ako or wikang Pilipino. At para po sa pagpapakilala ng ating tagapagsalitang magbabahagi ng kanyang kaalaman, yan dito si Binibining Susan Petalco, ang hepe ng Filipiniana Division.
Hola. Isang mapayapang araw sa inyong lahat. I have the honor to introduce our resource person for this program. Our resource person is the Director for Conservation and Business Development in Latin America and Europe for Preservation Technologies. She is a paper conservator with a long experience in physical, chemical, and biological treatments on valuable collections. She has a degree in biological sciences with a specialization in microbiology by the University of the Basque Country, Spain. As a paper conservator in private practice, she focused on preservation of paper, especially regarding the effects of acid in paper and damage from mold and other biological species. She joined Preservation Technologies in 2007 as General Director of the Bookkeeper Mass Deacidification Operation in Spain, where she supervised the preservation of millions of loose documents and significant collection of books, newspapers, and materials for archives and libraries. Since 2015, our resource person has taken the lead as a preservation consultant and director of business development with primary focus on collection in Latin America and Europe. She regularly consults with archives, libraries, and museums facing tropical environmental conditions, where control of biological and chemical deterioration are the most important issues. She has presented preventive preservation workshop at numerous international events in countries including Spain, Latvia, Finland, Estonia, Turkey, Mexico, Panama, Colombia, Peru, Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, and the Dominican Republic. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to our resource person, Madam Consuelo Martínez Rendo.
Good morning, girls. It's a great pleasure to stay here with you today. And I want to thank the National Library of the Philippines for this invitation. I will try to share with you my knowledge, my experience, but I would like to have one interactive presentation. So the idea is that you should feel free to make questions, okay? This will be better for all of us because I will understand your concerns, your problems, and I will try to help as much as possible. Well, we are starting with the title. Next. The title is Preservation of Writing National Heritage History for the Next 300 Years in Times of Change, Sustainability, Climate Neutrality, and Economics. But today we will focus in the preventive conservation program, but considering the chemical. Today in the morning. This afternoon, we will speak about biological problems, okay? So what are the targets of the preventive conservation program? We want to avoid damage which are irreversible, high costly, future interventions, the loss of the heritage in many cases. We want the chemical stabilization, and in principle, that means the stop of the acidic hydrolysis. This is a problem, enormous problem for many materials, but especially for those that were made during the 19th and 20th centuries. The program has to be able to save energy. This is important. And also, it has to be the most effective, sustainable, and green technology. So let's go to see next how to follow the program. Well, one question, what are the international standards for paper conservation? Well, it is said that the optimal is the temperature between 18 to 20 Celsius, relative humidity between 45 to 55, 60 maximum for paper. I thought there are some specific different ranges for other kinds of materials. We need climate control, monitoring, the prevention of fluctuations in the parameters, the cleaning of the air by the filtration of particles of powder and spores, with used to travel very easily with the particles of powder, the biocontrol, and the chemical stabilization. The question is it possible to follow the international standards under tropical climates? What do you think? It's possible? It's possible. It's a bit more difficult, but it's still possible. We will understand how to do it. You saw the images I'm showing you, and we saw similar photos for the previous presentation. We are looking materials which are really degraded. You see the books. Please, the books on the app, they are books that, well, originally the paper was good. It's rich paper. It's made for textile paper. But because of the environmental conditions and probably also the kind of water used for make the paper containing metals, they are very, very oxidated. And you see even the difference in the book on the left. There are two kinds of papers. Both of them were under the same conditions. But one of them, the white one, is nice. The rest of the book is a disaster. It is related with the composition of the paper and how the chemical reactions degraded the paper. Also, you see there, one below, the comic, you see two cases. One of them is okay, is as it was made, and the other is completely oxidized, probably for the effect of the UV radiation, the light. What we see here? Well, we see two papers from different periods in the history. The one in the app is probably from the 17th, 18th century, but it's in very, very bad conditions because the environmental conditions were very bad. It's suffering by humidity, it's very clear, there was humidity. There was attacked by insects, probably molds, and well, it needs to be restored. But even if we restore this document, we lost a lot of information forever and ever. And below, we see one document from the 20th century, and you see how is it. It was made with, it was made acidic. So in the beginning, he was sick, and was degrading with the time. And to recover the information from this document, the work we have to do is spectacular. It will take even months to recover this document, but again, many of the information is lost forever. So, the same with these samples. Next, please. In this case, we see other problems. For example, the book in the app to the left is a book, it's a historical book from the 18th century, but you see it's suffering from humidity, mold growing, and insects attack. The covers, the binders that we see on the right, up on the right, are in very bad condition because the insects were doing their work, termites, probably. Below, you see the effect of animals like rats. You see? The degradation is clear. So this is a problem of when we don't have a preservation program in our institutions. We could have, we will have to face this kind of problems. And when this happens, next, please. What we have to do is what you see there. The document app on the left was degraded, and there was one restoration. We call this restoration, but it's not really, we don't restore the document to the original situation. The lost parts are lost forever. The only thing we can do is to recover the function of the document and what we still can read there. Well, we want to prevent all this. We don't want to have these problems. So, how to proceed? How has to be the prevention plan? Well, there are several steps that we should follow. And I have to say that the prevention plan is for all the people inside the institution, not only for the group of conservators. Everybody has to be part of the prevention plan. It means the revision of the building continuously, just to see if we have structural problems. Maybe in many buildings, they are historical buildings that in the past they have a different function, but nowadays they are libraries or archives. And the structure is ancient. And they have, for example, pipes going for the walls. That could be a problem. So we have to, even if the building is new or not, is ancient, we have to pay attention to possible structural problems, because many of the buildings which are now archives and libraries were designed for other purpose. Nowadays, in many countries, they are constructing buildings, specific buildings for the purpose of the library, the archive, the museum, and all the details are considered thinking in the preservation of the collections, but they are not the majority. In most of the cases, we are using buildings which were constructed for other purposes. So they are structural problems that we have to detect, and we have to pay attention on how are the things. The monitoring of the environment is absolutely necessary. We have a previous presentation speaking about all this, the data lawyers, the control of the humidity and the temperature system. It should be as close as possible to the standards. But even if it is difficult and we cannot get all the time to be under the standards we were speaking about, 18 to 20 Celsius, 45 to 60 as maximum as relative humidity. Maybe in some cases, in climates like this, in Philippines, it's challenging. It's really challenging. But the idea is we should keep our levels of humidity and temperature as close as possible to the standard. And we have to prevent the changes. It has to be stable. If possible, stable. Why? Because when we have fluctuations, curiously, the life want to survive. So the molds interpreted the molds, they don't think, but it's as if they were thinking that something wrong will happen and they need to survive. So they start to generate spores. And the growing of the mole is faster, much more faster. So it's important to keep stable the conditions, just for this reason, for many others, but also for this reason. For that, we have systems. We are saying systems here, systems to control the temperature and also the humidity, the humidifiers. And in the market nowadays, we can find very good devices to do that. The periodic revision of the collection. Well, this is the visual inspection, of course, but also the testing. Taking samples from the books and from the furniture where the books are. We will speak about this in much more detailed this afternoon, because today we are focused on the chemical preservation. Well, you see there that I wrote placement of traps. We will see that today. The cleaning of the air, of course. The acidification. We will speak about this from now on. But one detail, important detail, we have to avoid eating or drinking close to the collection deposits. Why? Well, because we think we are very clean people, but a little piece of food is a big, very big party for the microbials. So we need to avoid that. We need to have one specific area to do that. And this area has to be far away from the collection and has to be cleaned every day very carefully. The quarantine. When we have new acquisitions, new collections come into the institution, we shouldn't put the collection with the new acquisition with the collection. Why? Because we don't know how is that material. We need to keep the material in one specific room, separate from all the other collection, to see what are the conditions. One specialist has to review very carefully the collection to see which are the problems, to solve the problems, and then we will put that material with the general collection. And also important is that the staff needs to be protected, because we don't know what kind of problems has the collection, and your health could be in danger. Today in the afternoon, we will see why, okay? So let's go with the chemical degradation, the oxidation. We saw in the previous presentation a lot of samples of paper we were really oxidated. The yellowing was showing oxidation and also acidic. The oxidation could be caused by metals in the paper, by UV light, by different causes. También also it could be caused by the metabolic action of microbial, and the acid hydrolysis favor the yellowing of the paper too. You see, next please. You see a sample here. This is, I love this paper. It is dated in the 17th century. The date is is writing in Spanish, is 1650. 1650 is the year. It looks as if it were made today, after several centuries. However, the paper is from the 20th century, and it's a disaster. It's a disaster. See, it's very brittle. You see? There are loose parts, yellow, and it's difficult to manage this document. This document is a candidate to the deacidification and probably the encapsulation. And the same happens with the next screen. You see, this book is in a terrible condition because it breaks only when you want to turn the page. And the others, you see, they are in a very, very poor condition. They need to be restored. They need to go to a restoration process, which is very long and expensive. So what we want is don't have this problem. And if we have the problem, what to do? Well, before to explain which is the deacidification, I will show you what is the structure of the paper and why the cellulose breaks when acidics are in the middle. Next, please. This is a microscopical image of a little piece of paper. As you see, there is one. All of these are cellulose fibers. This is the paper. If our eyes were able to see the paper as it is, what we will see is that each fiber is made next by molecules of glucose. The glucose is the polymer, I don't find the word, is the most abundant molecule in the nature. The cellulose fiber is made by hundreds of polymer of units of glucose. Do you understand? Is clear? What? Yeah. Okay. Each glucose is linked to the other by one oxygen. Is here. This is one special link. It's only for cellulose. It's called beta cellulose. And when we have acids in the middle, what is happening, these are acids, hydrogens, without any other atom. They are broken, this link, in many places, in all the channels, and in many places. So at the end, because the fibers, the glucose molecules are getting loose, the paper is becoming brittle. That's the hydrolysis, the acidic hydrolysis. The acidic hydrolysis means that you have acids there that are broken, the chains of cellulose that compounds the fibers of cellulose. So the paper becomes brittle and at the end disappear. Next, please. If you have questions, please. This is one international problem, and it is especially hard since we changed the production, the way on the paper was produced. When the paper was handmade, it was made with a very high quality and was made in alkaline medium, not acidic medium. So the paper from before the 19th and 20th century is much more stable and durable than the paper from the 19th and 20th century. Why? Because we changed the way to make the paper. And that way included acids in the middle of production. Also, because we changed the origin of the cellulose. The origin of the cellulose previously were rags, textiles. With the Industrial Revolution, we needed more paper, much more paper, because were edited newspapers, books, you know, a lot of paper for the industrial life. And that means that we needed one source of cellulose, apparently forever and ever. So the maker papers were looking for what to do, and they looked to the forest, and they thought, oh, that's the key, because we will have the source of cellulose forever and ever. And they started making the paper from wood, for the trees. And that means one much more aggressive system for the production of paper, with fibers much more short, and with the addition on acids in the medium to get the fiber out, and also with the content of lignin. The lignin is a very strong oxidant. So we have those two problems, oxidation and hydrolysis. Well, because the problem is international, and we have millions and millions of books and documents under such situation, by the end of the 20th century, many institutions, specifically in United States, were looking for the way to save the collections. And they called to the industry, the chemical industry, to ask for a solution. Several companies were doing research on how to treat the problem of the acidic collections in libraries and archives. One of them was preservation technologies. And it was the leader on this project looking for the solution was the Congress Library in United States. But finally, they decided that the bookkeeper process, which was developed by preservation technologies, was the best process for their collection. And they started treating the material since 1992 until today. And bookkeeper is now one international product which is used worldwide, as you can see. How it works? Well, next, please. You see that they are industrial factories. Why? Well, who did possible the problem? The Industrial Revolution, the industry. Who could solve the problem? The industry. So, because we have millions of books, documents, dying, we need a faster process to save them. And it has to be on a very high level, the treatment, not sheet by sheet, book by book. That's impossible. We cannot save the heritage if we follow that way. So we need something with the capacity to treat tons of paper, tons of books per year. That is the technology of preservation technologies. We are looking at one little part of our company in United States, but we have many other plants in the world that in fact most of them belong to the institutions. You see, for example, the next one. Next one. This is, no. This is the National Library of Poland. It's the biggest library in Europe. They have more books than any other library in Europe. And they are treating their collection with bookkeeper, if I remember well, since 2004 until today. Next, please. This is the Jagiellonian University, the most important university in Poland and one of the most important in Europe. And they are treating their collection, as you see, with a design, with a smaller design, but it's also the bookkeeper system. Next. This is a private company in Japan offering the services in all the region. And well, you see, it's a big installation of mass deacidification. Next. This is the National Library in South Korea. They have the plan for several years now, and they are doing a very, very efficient work and very interesting work. Next. This is the National Library of South Africa. I have the privilege to stay there 2 months ago, working with the staff, and they are doing really, really very, very well. A good job, and they are saving the collection. Next. This is the National Library of Qatar. Again, a good work in Qatar. They have a very interesting collection, and they are treating it with bookkeeper. So as you see, bookkeeper is one international process because it's completely safe and efficient. How it works? Well, how is the chemistry? Next one, please. What we use is magnesium oxide. The magnesium oxide is completely safe for humans. As a sample, I will tell you that the people doing cleaning use magnesium oxide in the hands just to prevent the humidity in the hands. So it's just a sample to show you that it's safe because the humans are using it for other functions. And the magnesium oxide is in one solution, chemical solution. It's not solvent, not water. It's a perfluoroxine, and it's a dispersion of little particles of magnesium oxide. The magnesium oxide, the solution, the bookkeeper solution goes into the paper, and we left there the magnesium oxide, and the perfluoroxine is taken out from the paper and is reused for other process. What remains on the paper is the magnesium oxide. The magnesium oxide combined with water will form hydroxide of magnesium. And combine it with the exits, it will be a salt and water. So this is the neutralization of the acids forever and ever. Also, we do we put the enough quantity of the chemical substance as for leave on the paper, the alkaline reserve. The paper has magnesium oxide to survive in the future in the case that it could be in contact with other acids. And this is not impossible because the acids are in the environment. So the paper needs to be protected, and it is protected. The acidification process is really simple. The selection of materials, how we do that? We don't have problems with the materials. There are not negative secondary effects. So the only criteria is priorities. Why I need to do first? Because I'm in a war against the time to save my collection. So what's the first? What's in the most critical situation, and I have to treat it before than others that still could wait for a bit. We prepare the materials in special holders, and they go to the treatment. You, in the next image, you see here the particles. This is one fiber. This is the electronic microscope with a very high resolution, which and then it's possible to see one piece of a fiber of cellulose with the magnesium oxide on it. The magnesium oxide is not visible for your eyes when you see the paper because the size of the particles is less than 1 micra. It's very, very small, really small. And with the time and combine it with the environmental humidity in equilibrium with the paper, all the distribution of the alkaline reserve is homogeneous in the paper, which is very important. Next, you see the same photo, a bit bigger. With this treatment, what we get is the extension of the life expectancy of the paper between 300 to 500. This means if my paper has one expectancy of life, let's say 100 years, I'm giving it 300 to 500. This is a great target because we won't be here after 300 years, but the paper will be here. And we don't know which technology will be in the future, but I'm sure there will be technology to send our historical heritage to the far, far, far future. So this is fantastic if we are able to do that. What do you think? I think it's fantastic. It's a very good option because the next generations will discover a lot of things from our days or life, as we are doing now with the past history. Let's see how we prepare the materials for the treatment. Please, next. One click more. Okay. You see, the box are mounted in one specific holder, which has the form of the binding of the book. And several of these holders, 3, 2, 3, go into the treatment chamber. We have several designs because the size of the materials is variable. So you see on the top at the right, that is a newspaper, big newspaper. So we have a specific holder to the newspapers and one chamber able to treat this size of materials. We have the vertical cylinder, the horizontal cylinder. the vertical cylinder for books, the horizontal cylinder for documents, and big size books. Next one, please. As you see, it's a complete vat. The materials are inside the liquid. For how many time? It used to be about 30, 35 minutes. It's enough for the treatment. And then we drain the liquid, we filter and recover the liquid for the next treatment. And we have a time for drying about 3 hours for the complete recovery of the perfluoroxane. And what we left is the magnesium oxide. One special thing that the people realize after the treatment is that the smelling, you know that the deposits with acidic paper had one specific smelling. You go there and there is one smelling. And that smelling is because of the acids on the paper. So when after the treatment, that smelling disappear. Why? Because it's clean. And when our deposit is deacidified, we go there and there is not smelling. It's nice to smell the environment there. It's clean. I love that. I really love that. Next one. Right, you see here how we treat the documents. Each document goes in one cassette. The cassette has holes. You see here the holes. So each document each individual document is in one cassette, and the complete box of documents is treated in this box. You see there how are the documents on the box. Next one. Double click. You see here how the chamber is being filled. And this is a photo that I took years ago in my plant in Spain. Normally, we work with the chambers closed. Why? Because our chemical evaporates very, very quickly. So we keep them closed. But we can open them at any time. There is not a problem if we open them. And the purpose of this photo is to show you that it's safe for humans. It's not dangerous. We are in contact with bookkeeper and we are not sick, we are healthy. No, it's not dangerous. Many people is concerned because when we speak about chemical products, immediately we think, it could be toxic. No, it's not toxic. It's safe for humans and for animals and for the life. Next one. For the case where we don't have a plant and we cannot send our materials to be treated in the plant, but we have materials that are acidic, what to do? Well, we have different forms to treat the materials with bookkeeper. This is the smaller one. For little treatments, imagine you have one ancient letter from one of your parents and you want to treat it because it's becoming brittle. You have the possibility to do it with this little solution. But we also have professional solutions like the spray system that you see there with an air compressor and a tank with a capacity of 2 gallons. 2 gallons are about seven kilograms of product. And you will see how it works. Next. We use a gun for the spraying. Next. Now, we designed, this is the same that you saw before, the spray system, but now with one specific support to keep inside this device the air compressor and the tank with the liquid, and you see the gun for the spraying. Next one. Yeah. This is the bookkeeper intelligent spray system. You will see it today working. Okay? It's a good design for especially for documents. It's very good because it's really faster. It's really fast. It's automatic. It's able to select the surface where it has to spray. It's possible to regulate the distance of the spraying. It's a suction table. It's silent, not no noisy, and very easy to clean. After the application, it's very easy to clean the sprayers. I will show you. Next one, please. Yeah. Next one. Please. It's possible to see the video? It's a video. Okay, thank you. Well, you saw the video, the kind of materials that we can treat. You saw a lot of colors, red, blue, black. We don't have problems with the colors. We don't have problems with the stamps. We don't have problems with photos. We don't have problems with no one material. It's completely safe. After millions and millions of documents and books treated, we don't have problems. So it's the safer process in the world for mass identification. The next one. Why I'm showing you this? Well, this is a work that I did during the pandemic. Well, I was at home. Well, I was using my time to do experiments, and I knew theoretically that bookkeeper is able to inhibit the growing of molds, because molds grow very well in acidic medium. They prefer a medium of with a pH between 5 to 6.5, even below 5 they can grow well, very well. But the alkaline medium is not so good for them. They prefer the acidic medium. So I did the treatment of several samples of paper. This is a paper that from the 19th century is what I did was the following. I put in one humid room a table with 6 kind of papers, different kind of papers. The composition was different in all the cases. And I took the complete page and I cut it into units. One of the units was treated with bookkeeper, the other not. And I put them together in the same circumstance, in the same table. And they were under humidities about 90, 95%, 80%, and temperatures about 27 for several days. The result was that the control, which was the paper not treated, very easy and very fast developed the growing of mold. However, the treated paper was much more resistant to the growing of mold. This is interesting because it means that when we deacidify the paper, the theory is true. We are introducing in the paper one inhibition factor, one additional inhibition factor for the growing of mold. That's important because we could have one accident in our library or archive. And for some time, the environmental control is not working properly. But if our collection is treated, until a certain point, not forever and ever, but for some time, it's protected. It's protected against the growing of mold. Of course, if you insist, the mold will grow because they are the better survival life in the world. But the question is, you have one inhibition factor in your paper. That's interesting. It's something. It's an addition. No, the purpose is to acidify, but at the same time, you have that. The next one, please. This is from the 17th century, the same case. Even this was more resistant. You see, this is completely filled of mold. The dots are mold, the colonies of mold. And you see the mold here just in the part close to the other, but not in the rest of the paper. So it really worked. Well, next one, please. Just to finish this session, I want to say that our experience treating acidic materials is now more than 33 years. We never had people complaining. It's safe for the materials. We can treat paper, leather, parchment, textiles, metals, plastics, gloves, stamps, photos, ink, colors. Of course, our objective is the paper, but if you are treating books, the books come with all kind of materials. What we tested is that those materials are okay. Nothing happened with them. They remain completely safe. And we deacidify the paper to save it. It's friendly and safe for the environment. This is important. Now we are conscious about that necessity. It's non-toxic for the users. Versatile because you can customize the size and scope of your project. The capacity to extend the paper life is between 300, 500, is a lot. And as you saw, many institutions worldwide are confident about bookkeepers. So it's not a new product, it's a tested product, very tested product, and proved efficient and safe. Next one, please. What happens with the materials that came to the deacidification but are very brittle? They don't have mechanical resistance. Okay. For that materials, assist the encapsulating with the welder, minter welder. This is a device developed 50 years ago. It's not new. It's also a very tested device, and protect your materials from the environment while you can still use them. You can read the materials, you can manage the materials, you can access to the information, but your material is safe. Nothing wrong is happening to your material. It's completely safe and it's not degrading while you are using it. This is very, very important. You will see it is there. Is able, next one, is able to encapsulate documents from any site. And it's possible to, if we go to the previous slide, you can see that it's the previous one. It's possible to encapsulate different materials in one and make one book of safest materials. For example, you have photos, a collection of photos, or a collection of stamps, a collection of whatever you have. You can put your collection in one only book. But all of them are protected, and you can see it then as you did all your life. Yeah? So I think it's something fantastic. And this is all for now. I would like to know if you have questions. You were silent, nobody wanted to ask me. But I'm ready to speak with you. Comments, please. What do you think? Is good, is not? You like it?
And so for those here who have a question to Miss Consuelo, you can raise it now. So sino po sa atin ang may mga katanungan? Ayan. To our live viewers there sa Facebook po, you can throw your questions, your queries there down the chat box, and then we will try to ask now or later on yung mga queries po na yan. So again, for our live viewers here, baka po meron tayong mga questions. Oh, ito po si Mama yan. So kindly state your name po and your organization or agency you're affiliated.
So good morning. So I'm Eve Cruz Ferrer from the Local Water Utilities Administration. So thank you for the presentation. It was quite curious. I'd like to know, you said that the books treated would last 300 to 500 years, like thereafter. So what happens like after, let's assume 300 years after, it has to be retreated again?
Well, we did testing to see the resistance of the paper, the treated paper. And what we saw is that its capacity to resist could be that, of course, under the environmental conditions that we were speaking about. But we cannot predict what will happen after that, because we don't know how the world will.
The technology will be, yes.
We don't know what kind of technology will be that time, but for sure, if we give the materials to the generations in the future,
Future generation.
they will know how to follow up. Maybe not for the deacidification, but they will find the system to extend much more the life of the materials because the science is there and the science is in progress. So
Mhm.
I believe in the science. I
Yes.
believe in the human capacity to develop things. So the target is I want to give you the future, this because you will know how to do with it for the next generation much more far away.
Sorry, I have a second. Thank you for the response. A second question. A document that has been encapsulated, how long will the encapsulation last?
How it's very fast.
I don't know. I mean, how long will it last? I mean,
To life.
yes, the life of the encapsulated.
But you have to think that it is not exposed to the environment. It's protected from the environment, so there is no degradation for the environment.
No, sorry.
It's treated, it's deacidified, so it's alkaline and is isolated from the environment. So the environmental conditions are not affecting the document.
No. My question is the how should I say it? The film that covers the document, how long will it last? Sorry, it's not the paper, but the covering.
Okay, it's a good question. Well, yesterday I heard we were speaking with the designer of the system, and he told about 40, 50 years of works that are still okay, because they started 50 years ago doing that, and the materials that they encapsulated are still there.
Okay.
In any case, it's possible to repeat the treatment in the
Yeah,
future.
exactly.
So,
Yes, that's what.
but it's good to know that it's possible to have materials after 30 years without having to replace the material.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Any other else? Si sir po, ayan. Name po and then agency.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Ramel Talabis from the National Archives of the Philippines. I was just thinking the setup of the mass deacidification system in Poland. How many documents can it deacidify, for example, in a day?
But I don't have the date, but I could ask if you are interested, and I could send by email the information. I don't have the date. They are working since 2006. So now it's 19 years, and they never stopped in working. So I don't know how much they did, but for sure,
No, the average
the average,
the average output per day of a setup like that, because it's among the examples, I think the Poland and the Korea are the smaller setup, which
No, your question, right? I think you're looking for output, right? And insofar as the National Archives is concerned, so what you're looking at is a library, and a library has books, right? Whereas to address your issue, you're talking about manuscripts and single sheet, loose paper. So each cassette, in your case, each cassette, right, can load up to 2,000 sheets. And that process of each cassette in 2,000 sheets is less than a 2-hour process in a working day. For you, you're looking at the national Poland. To answer your question, because it was how you directed it, is that a library has a huge amount of books. Now, books are loaded horizontally and they need to be opened, right, to flutter. But your case in the National Archive, yeah, it's a horizontal. She showed she showed you the horizontal cassettes. So to answer you explicitly, right, it's each cassette, Consuelo, correct me if I'm wrong, is 2,000 sheets for loose sheets. On the horizontal, it's 2,000 sheets.
Per cassette.
Per cassette.
See, más o menos, no? See, so each cassette can load. You can make bigger ones. Also, they're custom built.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, at least 2,000 per cycle. The cycle of
2 hours.
2 hours, and that means immersion, and then by vacuum, immersion takes 40 minutes. She's the master of that. But after that, this is a closed circuit system where the most important for such an institution like you is that the liquid is by vacuum removed, right? So that whole cycle, both the removal of the liquid once it's treated, is less than 2 hours, 40 minutes to treat it.
So
2,000
the full process is 2 hours
for each batch, yeah.
for each batch.
Yeah.
The tank, the average size of the tank will
2,000 at least. At least.
one cassette only
Huh?
per the tank, the treatment tank will fit only one cassette.
No, we
depends-
can custom
Right.
make it. Yeah, it's expandable.
Right. It depends on the paper, but the medium is about 3 hours, the complete
The
treatment.
complete treatment, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
At 3 hours.
The batch and then the recovering of the fluid to be reused, recycle, cleaning and reuse.
Okay. So one tank can fit the average size,
One
the
tank,
8.5 by 14 inches size of paper.
one tank.
One tank can fit
The vertical
3,000.
tank, well, we have
Horizontal.
the,
First one.
the horizontal tank, we have, we could make them on different sides. Okay? But normally for normal documents, A4, or
Yeah.
even a bit bigger, there are 3, they go inside the chamber, 3 boxes with the documents. The boxes you saw with the envelopes,
Okay.
3 boxes
So around 6,000.
per cycle. So it's possible to treat in one turn of work 8 hours, 3, 6, 9 boxes in one chamber. But normally in the designs, if you are an archive, you will have more chambers, more than one. The smaller one is that the one of Polonia. It's the smaller one. One vertical, one horizontal for books and documents. But we have different designs depending on your necessities. We have designed a plant with 2, 3 tanks for documents, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tanks for books are installed in Warsaw, the National Library, 6, because they needed the capacity to treat a very big collection of books. So we could customize the design depending
Based on-
on the institution. Yeah, but the capacity is really very high. I treat tons of books and documents in Spain, tons. I don't know how much, but tons.
Another question, for a setup like that of Poland or Korea, how many people will have to work in that setting?
Well, I have a plant with a very, very big production, and we were 3 people.
3?
Because the process is automatic. The manual work for in the plant is to select the materials, to prepare them for the treatment, to introduce all the information in the informatica system, because all is recorded. It's completely computerized. Each document, we know where is each document, where is each book at all time, because we have several stations, and by the time we are moving the things, we are scanning continuously. So we know where to find the documents and the books, And it's a very intelligent system. It's a very intelligent system. So we are three people with a very big production. And we were treating documents, newspapers, and books.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, sir. So let's try to accommodate Ms. Consuelo questions from or on the Facebook Live. So here we have an online participant. Her name is Wilma Laura Teodoro. And then she's asking, what about the termite prevention?
Then termite prevention.
Termite prevention, yeah.
I will. This is my speaking today afternoon.
Yeah, so Miss Teodoro, you better be ready to still view the live on Facebook because later on Miss Consuelo will be dealing that more about that topic. All right? So all right, thank you so much for that very productive exchanges here between our resource speaker and our audience here in the venue. So I think we will be having a quick break. I think food is now ready for us to share. Kasi kanina po hindi tayo nakapag AM snack, right? So I guess we're all famished. Famished. So, ayun. So, again, thank you so much, Miss Consuelo. We will see you later on again in the afternoon. All right. Again, thank you so much. So, everyone in the Facebook Live. Thank you. Again, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in an hour to continue with our program, or we will be back at 1 o'clock p.m. to continue with our program. So see you soon. We'll be right back. So for our guests here, lunch is now being served at the back. So please feel free to help yourselves and enjoy a good meal and some great company. We will reconvene here again at 1 o'clock p.m. for our next session. So see you all later. Okay guys, we can now line up. Doon po sa likod.
Pwede na po,
At
available na po ang ating lunch. At yun po, bilang bahagi po ng pagdiriwang ng ika-138 anibersaryo ng National Library of the Philippines, ay may dinadaos po kaming bazaar sa baba. Pwede nyo pong dayuin yun. At may mga tinitinda po mga damit, libro, pagkain, kung ano-ano pang souvenirs at pasalubong po. Pwede nyo pong dayuin sa baba po, sa ating lobby, sa ating pong ground floor sa lobby po. Maraming salamat po.
Ayan.
Ang last day po ngayon ng bazaar hanggang alas 5 po ng hapon. Yun lang po. Salamat po.
And of course, partner, yung na-mention kanina ni Sir Jet, yung newly opened natin na gallery. So they can also visit that during this break. Yan, pwede pong pumunta yung mga participants natin doon after they have their lunch. All right, again, we will be right back after an hour. See you later. Thank you so much.
See you later. We'll be right back after a short break.